Welcome back to On the Daily. In today's episode, we are getting really spicy. I see a lot of entrepreneurs and non-entrepreneurs. Honestly, this is an episode that applies to everyone, whether you have a business or not. Essentially, I see a lot of people say, oh, well, if I just had X, everything would be fine. Or if this person just understood me, that would be fine. Or if, somebody say like, all I need is a VA to help me, but I don't have the money to do that right now. The problem is not that you don't have the VA. The problem is not that you don't have people who respect you. The problem is that you are inconsistent as fuck. And that is actually the real problem. And your inconsistency might be keeping you really, really small and blocked from the things you really want. So if this is striking a chord with you, then listen on, because this one's for you in this On the Daily episode of Dee's Tea Time. Hey friend, welcome to On the Daily. I'm your host, Danielle McCleary, and I am a quantum business coach. I'm the host of this podcast. I'm a multi-six-figure entrepreneur, co-founder and president of Hype You Media, and CEO of Danielle on the Daily Coaching. What I'm really interested in is helping you live a life and have a business that is a full body yes. So through all of my education and all of my experience, I'm bringing you 2 episodes a week where I will guide you and give you the tools necessary to scale a massive, sustainable, and sexy business using your intuition, wealth energetics, and human design. What we can call it is business biohacking. So if you're down for that, then I say let's frickin' go. I'm so glad you're here. That Black Friday sale was pretty epic. I am so excited for all of you that got your hands on masterclasses and for everybody that is going to be joining me in the Reckoning in January. I cannot wait. It's very exciting to think about doing this program again. I wanted to share that the pre-sale price for the Reckoning is currently still in effect until December 5th, at which point the price will increase. So if you missed the Black Friday sale, but you are really looking to be a part of the Reckoning, if you want to know all about the Reckoning, go back and listen to my episode from last week, all about the Reckoning. The episode's called It's Time for a Reckoning Again. And I'm going to talk all about that program in that episode. So make sure you go back and listen to that. And if the Reckoning is for you, you can still get that pre-sale price until December 5th. Also, if you are wanting to join my mastermind in the new year and you want lower monthly payments, that extended payment plan is also available until December 5th, at which point it will disappear. Although if you do decide to jump into that extended payment plan in December, your price will be a little bit higher because it'll be on a 7-month instead of an 8-month. So if you really want that lower price per month for my mastermind, make sure that you jump in before December 1st and make payment before December 1st so you can get that full 8-month runway. All right, let's get into this episode because I'm excited about it. There is an inconsistency happening with people's work habits, belief systems, boundaries, standards, worthiness, you name it. There's inconsistency happening. And I think a lot of people aren't even aware of how much that is slowing them down, but also blocking it. Like it's blocking you from achieving everything you've ever wanted. And I'm going to explain why. So what really sparked the idea for this episode was I was on social media and I was watching someone's social media, and it was like one story was how epic and grateful they are for everything that's happening in their life and all these like little surprises that they're getting. And then the next story was literally like how miserable they were and how horrible everything is and how, if they just had X, Y, and Z, everything would be fine. And I'm like, the issue is not that you don't have X, Y, and Z. The issue is that you are inconsistent as fuck. Inconsistent. Like saying that you care about one thing in one moment and then in the next moment completely contradicting that by saying something else. And I see this a lot with like people's boundaries, right? Like a perfect example of this is with boundaries is in one moment, they're like, I have boundaries and everybody is, everybody must abide by them. And I don't say yes if I don't want to. And if it's not a full body yes, it's a no. blah, blah, blah. People say that. And then in the next moment, they're triggered because someone tried to take advantage of them. And the issue is not that somebody tried to take advantage of them. The issue is that they were inconsistent in their boundaries and that person did take advantage of them. And then it triggered them because they weren't consistent in their boundaries. That's inconsistency. If you're going to have rock solid boundaries, then you have to become unfuckwithable. So if somebody, even somebody you love, tries to go across those boundaries, you say, bitch, that wasn't a suggestion. It wasn't an ask. It was a requirement. That boundary I set was a requirement. And no, the answer is no. I've seen this happen with people where, they have this standard for what they charge. And then somebody comes in with like a lowball offer. And then instead of saying, I'm sorry, I can't do this project for you because my prices are X, Y, and Z, they get triggered by the fact that this person would lowball them. And I'm like, well, listen, in the past, you probably accepted a lower offer and now you have these boundaries. But if you're going to have these boundaries, you got to be okay with people not being able to pay your prices. Like if you're going to set the boundary of price, then you have to be okay with people not being willing or able to pay those prices. I've outpriced my audience so many times, but I'm consistent because I know what I'm worth. No, I'm not going to lower my boundaries. I'm not going to lower my standards for anyone just because in the past, maybe I have. That's not how this works. And, I see the same thing with we can talk about this in so many situations, right? It's like, even with like social issues, which I don't normally talk about, but it's a perfect example. On one hand, we saw this a lot during the pandemic. On one hand, you see a lot of people yelling that everyone needs to get vaccinated or they're going to die and kill grandma, right? You have everybody yelling that on one side of the spectrum. Those same people are the ones that are yelling at people, telling them that they can't tell them what to do with their bodies. And if they're pro-abortion, then that's totally fine. And listen, I honestly don't care where people stand on the abortion issue, where people stand on the vaccine issue, where people stand on the COVID issue, the religious issue, the political issue. I don't give a fuck. I could never imagine wasting that much time caring about what other people decide to do with their lives, their time, their bodies, whatever. But I'm consistent as fuck. I'm going to do with my body what I choose to do with my body, and you're going to do with your body what you choose to do with yours. And I'm not going to, even if what you do with your body, I personally wouldn't do with mine, I'm not going to say shit to you because my standard is that your body is your body and my body is my body. But during the pandemic, we saw so many people flip-flopping and being inconsistent as fuck. And then they're wondering why everybody's mad at them. And it's because you're inconsistent as fuck. On one end, you're preaching about the X, but then on the other end of the spectrum, you're preaching about why, and it's confusing. And so when we apply this to work, you can't say that you have all these standards in your business and boundaries and then be mad when somebody doesn't want to meet those boundaries, because that means that's inconsistency, right? You can't say that you're untriggerable and then the second that your best friend does something that triggers you, you fall off the wagon. You can't, that's inconsistency. Right. And we've all been inconsistent, but at a certain point, when you decide to raise your standard, when you decide to raise your vibration, when you decide to raise your frequency, you have to actually walk your walk and talk your talk, and you have to become consistent. Right. I see a lot of people that will go on social media and they'll try to post things for the approval of others. And then in the next story, they're mad that everybody's taking advantage of them. And it's well, if you're on one end, you're trying to do anything for approval, and then you're mad that people want to take everything from you, that makes sense. That's an inconsistency, and it's the same with money. People say oh, I want a calm, this is a big one for me with money. And I did a whole mini program on this, and it was all about my priorities in my life are freedom and peace. For me and my family. That's my biggest priority. And so everything I do has to fall in line with that, including money. And so I see people that say yeah, I want freedom and peace, but then the only payment options they accept into their business are high ticket pay in full offers. And it's all you're doing is you're keeping yourself in this fight or flight, all gas or all brakes mentality. And how helpful is that? It's not helpful at all to your body, and it's inconsistent. If you want freedom and peace, then you should be stacking your monthly recurring revenue, because that is actually breeding peace and freedom and sustainability in your business. Not oh, I need a client that's going to pay me $10,000. I need a $20,000 client. I need a $50,000 client, and then everything will be fine. That's inconsistent. And if we're inconsistent in the way that we do business, then we can't be surprised when people are confused and try to walk all over us or like don't understand the boundaries. If you're going to have boundaries, you got to stick to your boundaries. If you're going to want peace and freedom, you got to stick to that in all areas of your life, right? You can't say that you want like quality relationships in business, but then like you can't communicate with your partner at home. That's an inconsistency. So your issue is not that you don't have X, Y, and Z. And if you just had a little bit more of X, Y, and Z, everything would be fine. The only thing you need more of is consistency, because when you have consistency, you are less reactive and you have more ability to respond from your body. You also have more discernment. And when you have more discernment, that's actually when you start to get everything you want, because you're practicing consistency in all areas of your life. So be more consistent. I'm consistent as fuck. And that is why I have the business and the life and the relationships that I have. And I really, really, really stand by that 100%. Okay. I've been spicy enough for the day. I'm going to go cool off and have an ice water. Anyway, I'll be back on December 1st with another episode where we're going to talk a lot about energetic match. So if you feel like maybe people are walking all over you, then the next episode on Friday is going to be really, really good for you, because it's going to help you kind of understand energetic match a little bit better, which is just kind of the cornerstones of wealth energetics and making more money and holding more money and all the things. So come back on Friday for that episode. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of November. As always, come on to Instagram, Danielle_on_the_daily. If you want to chat, ask any questions about my mastermind, ask any questions about the reckoning or anything else that I have coming up. We start the 12 days of D in a little over a week, and I'm so excited. All right, y'all. Love ya. Bye.